right. Hey, everyone. Guys, we're live. Wow. It's weird. It was showing me that there was nobody here. Let me shut this off. All right, so if you watched my video yesterday, and you were one of those stupid Aurora shareholders, maybe you're smart today and you did a straddle or a strangle to protect your position. A couple of guys in TTG were short on Aurora. So option wise, the only option that was really tradable was the June 19th calls and puts, as well as the May 15th, calls and puts. So, I mean, it made a pretty serious move, a pretty nice jump after hours. We're sitting at 7. Whoa, we just shot up 780. That's really strong. So it looks like it's squeezing a little bit. Look, you also have to put this into perspective with their earnings, right? So what do we think their fair price should be with earnings like this, right? So I would say if it gets to 75 cents, which is the pre-split price, you're looking at $9, okay? I'd be ecstatic if it got to $9. I'd be ecstatic if it got to $10. I'm not long or short Aurora right now. I was trying yesterday to get short on those sevens, but I wasn't going to play the earnings because it's just kind of a wild card with, that they just did the reverse split. And there's a lot of volatility right now in Aurora. So I actually think it's probably going to be, for a little while at least, a scalper's wet dream, right? I think anything at like $9, you short. I mean, I'll probably look to enter some puts either tomorrow or Monday. But I mean, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty damn good. I mean, it's not much of a reprieve for the people that are in it. Because you're not talking about a giant move, right? So at the current price, so today's low pre-split was like 52 cents, okay? That makes a move to 780 divided by 12, 65 cents. So if you were in this and it wasn't splitting, I mean, that's still a hell of a move, right? It's almost a 30% move from 52 cents. I'd just be very careful with this, especially if you're getting in this for the first time. The thing that I would caution you about is you've got to take your profit, okay, and stick to it, all right? Like I said, Aurora can come back from the brink, but it's going to be very choppy between now and then. They still have a ton of work to do before this is anything you want to take, like buy and hold for, more than 6 months. Oh, that's very cute. All right. So, so here we are, right? It's definitely squeezing. Should I light those babies on fire now? First time here, $6.19, $6 puts. Should I light those babies on fire? The $6 puts, it depends on what date you have if you got into those. Some people that had those got out today before earnings. Look, with options, you definitely have to be aware of your risk and understand that, if you're wrong, you are going to light those on fire. And especially going into earnings, like you don't play any earnings unless you are just absolutely confident and really done like super due diligence that it's going to be a beat. You don't play without having some kind of straddle. So what a straddle is a put and a call with the same strike and same expiration, right? Because look, tomorrow, if people had, let's say, $7 calls, they're going to get paid. They're going to get paid big. If you had $6 puts that expire tomorrow, those things are probably going to be worthless. But you've got time. You know, look, I think the better strike would be a $7 put. And going into, you know, the earnings today, the $6 put was definitely in play, and it was working out for most of the day. But, you know, as it shifts, you know, you also have to pivot and understand, like, you don't want to give back too much of that profit. So a lot of people made 60% on those puts and then bailed because they didn't want to hold into the earnings. So yeah, lesson learned on Roku. You know, Roku is one that always disappoints. Like, they'll have a beat and then it sells off, you know. So last earnings, I bought 140 calls, and I just had the calls, but I sold off 95% of them by the end of the day because the option was up 60%, and I only kept one, you know, just for, you know, as a lotto. Yeah, look, you can straight out short on ACB. I don't know what you know, how easy it is to borrow right now. I honestly haven't looked. I prefer to just play the options just because it's a little bit more, you know, it's a little easier, it's a little bit more volatile, and you know exactly what your risk is, right? You know, you buy an option for $1, you know, it would cost you $100 for one. Like, I know if I buy one, you know, my total risk is, you know, losing $100. You know, if you go short, let's say you go short 1,000 shares or something, and this thing just makes some crazy announcement, you could just get stuck in that and then just get absolutely destroyed. Long story short, you don't have access to options. Getting access to options is pretty easy depending on your broker. You got E-Trade, Schwab, TD. It's just an approval. You basically can go into the options drop down and then just ask for it. They're going to ask you some questions. You're going to have to say that you've traded options before, but, you know, before you trade any options, you should trade, you know, do paper trade them. All right. You know, that's actually one of the new functions that we're going to be putting on True Trading Group, is a stock simulator. So yeah, so again, you know, we'll see what Aurora does. If it continues to just go bonkers, it's just bouncing around. So you went to 780, now it's 766. You know, you don't know with Aurora, right? You know, what Aurora, like, the money tends to do in Aurora, it lets the FOMO grab hold and then it just drops the hammer on them, which is always a risk. I mean, I think with the volatility right now with Aurora, probably the best bet is to just do either a straddle or a strangle. Straddle, I just went over, that's a call and put for the same strike, same expiration. A strangle is a call and a put, same expiration, but different targets. So let's say we close after hours at 7:50. Okay, and you're not sure where we're going. You're kind of on the fence, right? But you want to take part in the action. You buy a $7 put and an $8 call. All right, same amount. You try and get the cost as close, you know, let's say, you know, they're 50 cents each. You know, that's perfect, right? That way, if you get the direction right, you can unload the one that's not paying you. So yeah, so the the worst performing sector today was thankfully real estate, right? And and by that I'm talking about and the ones that performed the best today, were the inverse. So it was DRV, that's David Roger Victor, and then SRS, Sam Riley Sam. DRV is somewhat, it's like a 3x inverse. SRS is a 2x. So think of those as like TVIX and UVXY. Took profit on DRV today at 29.78. It made it to 30 something. Reloaded at 20.28. So got $1.98 or $1.78. I forget. It was either 29.78 or 29.98 that I sold. I forget. But I got, a little bit of insurance, and I bought the same amount that I sold, and I'm keeping the rest to possibly, if it goes down lower, to, scoop that up. I figured out from what I sold today, I can get 35 shares for free, as long as it's under $28. So now it's probably, maybe I get an extra 5 or 10 shares. So that's one of those stocks that I'm really gonna, really be focusing on for a while, because I think real estate is going to be one of the only sectors that the Fed is not going to be able to put their finger on the scale. So, I'm, oh, Glenn, you took profit at 30.30. Good job. Cron getting a pop after hours too. So Chronos, yeah, let's jump into Chronos. So we've got calls. We got 550 calls for May 29th. The calls that I really wanted to get were the $5 calls for May 29th, but the spread on them was just, it was all over the map today. If it dips below 5, really take a look at those calls, because right now Chronos is basically trading at below its cash. Which kind of makes it a really simple, I look at it as not as risky as many of the other Canadian LPs. How about airline stocks? I played airline stocks all wrong today. I'll be the first to admit it. I was just like really pissed about it today. It really messed me up for a good portion of the day. So I was in love 25 and 26 50 calls for next week, and I just couldn't keep watching them bleed. And I dumped them at the low or pretty close to the low, and they ended up running. I did buy the $23 calls today, which were great. I did it just to do like a quick scalp. Should have bought more, and they ended up going 100%, actually more. They ended up going like 150%, which I was also really pissed about. But the problem with airlines right now is, I think honestly, it's a better short right now, because everything, or maybe it's not has it hit a bottom? I mean, today sure looked like a bottom, but I also thought that it was a bottom a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So, if you're going to play those options, the best advice I could give you is just getting, you don't really want to hold too much overnight. I made that mistake, and it cost me a shitload of money. Yeah, and Joseph, they completely followed the SPY today. Totally. So I'm still holding on to a bunch of calls. So I have like 130 calls that are basically lottos right now. So I'm hoping that, we get a move. I'm in Southwest Airlines, but, I'm not holding out too much hope for those. I'm basically, today was just kind of like a reset with some of those options. Look, if the SPY keeps ripping, first off, it's just crazy that it's ripping. All the news, all the data is bad. The employment and joblessness is just absolutely atrocious. It's scary. It's literally Great Depression levels at a much quicker pace. A lot of small businesses are not going to reopen, despite what you hear. And the reopening of states they're doing a real piss poor job. So I think Texas saw a 41% increase in coronavirus cases. All the testimony from the Hill, from Dr. Fauci and Dr. Bright today was just kind of bad, and how the administration is just basically bumbling it, you know? So yeah, so on TTG, there, Sander, Sander, we have 2 options courses on True Trading Group. We've got the beginners like options course, and then we have the advanced options course. Yeah. How do you choose which options to buy in terms of maturity other than spread? What else do you consider? You definitely have to consider liquidity. You have to consider open interest. And you also have to consider how volatile the stock is, right? You don't want to buy, or you tend to see in stocks that don't move, aren't like super volatile. Like a perfect stock that I get everybody started on is US Steel. For everybody that wants to trade options, I basically give you just the playbook for trading that one. And it's been a great playbook. A lot of people that I got started on they solely just trade that now. And you could actually make a living by just trading US Steel, but you've got to be aware of the signals and how to play it. And anybody that's in TTG will tell you that's been like just an absolute ATM machine. So, you don't want to get into an option that's illiquid, right? You also don't want to get into something that the spread is just so wide. Like SRS and DRV, they've got options, but there's no open interest in them. Nobody trades them. I would have loved to have bought options like 3 months out on both of those. If I had been able to do that, if they were liquid, I would have made an absolute killing. So DRV, the entry was at like around $20.50. That hit $30 today. On SRS, my entry was $18.20, sold a bunch at $21.25, and then it pulled all the way back to below 18, and then I reloaded. And I'd been reloading and trading it, but then I grabbed like my big position at $17.85. It hit 23 today. So, with something like that, playing an option is actually probably not even that good, because you're going to have time decay and it's just going to bleed out the premium in that option. But if you trade the stock and you know how to trade it, know how it moves, you could actually do really well with it. And as far as swing trades, like DRV and SRS have been really my 2 primary swing trades in the last month, besides some of the long-term holdings that I bought in March, which I had really not touched that much. I've tried to touch them. Like I tried getting cute with my PW, which is Power REIT. So I got in at 8. I sold some at 11.25, thinking I'd get a pullback, and then it went to like $14. So I've just been like, all right, I'm just not going to touch it. So yeah, so what is ACB at now? Let's take a look. So yeah, so it's back to 775. Some of the other ones that we're looking at. So Southwest is doing well, but look, the headlines the last couple of days from CEO Boeing, from Jerome Powell, Delta put out a thing today saying that it's got way too many pilots. It's got like 15,000 pilots right now. They're going to drop that down to 7,700. They don't expect air travel to recover for 3 to 4 years. So the question is, when do the airlines get another bailout, right? Right now, airlines are really just a trade right now. And what you keep in there is just profit, right? Trying for some of the airlines like Southwest, Delta, maybe JetBlue. I think you want to take a position in those. You don't try and nail the bottom, but you want to be positioned, but at the same time, you have to stay active in them. So what I mean by staying active is it makes a dollar move, you take some off, it pulls back, then you reload. And you just keep doing that, rinsing and repeating. And the idea is to accumulate as many free shares as possible using the same money. Yeah, Ian, air traffic and TSA pre-checks are all up, and they're increasing. But at the same time, a lot, Delta is losing $50 million a day. So on any given month, it's losing $1 billion, right? Yeah, more. After 20 days, they lose $1 billion. Another 10, so they're losing like $1.5 billion a month. That's an incredibly tough spot to be in. And these companies are really dependent on, cash. I mean, Delta basically grounded all of its 777s indefinitely. Am I thinking of buying puts on any airlines? No, not really. Possibly. If I'm buying puts, I'm not going to be, in there for a long time. Any puts that I buy will just kind of be day trades. And you want to buy puts when you think that the SPY is going to pull back, because right now the airlines are trading with the S&P 500. Any thoughts on VREOF? No, not really. It's not really one that I track. So, any other questions? Ooh, is it possible after a big run here that ACB will try and raise cash? Lewis, that's a great question. Aurora is definitely going to have to raise cash. 100% they're going to have to raise cash. And nobody is going to like that. They're going to have to do a financing. And question is, who's going to extend them cash? BMO is giving them, so that's Bank of Montreal, is giving them so much money. And they're probably deep underwater on it. I mean, BMO is probably one of the biggest sellers of Aurora right now. With a move like this, if let's say this thing could hold 8 and maybe get to $9, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a financing. And the reason being that somebody at one of the banks was short, and then they need to cover. And then they use that financing to cover their short, which they can do in Canada. You can't do that in the United States. You can't do a bought deal in order to cover your short. And we see that a lot in the cannabis industry. So that's definitely something you need to look out for. What is Cron's best plan for the cash they are sitting on? Good question, Joe. I think that the best course of action is to wait out everybody, scoop up a lot of distressed companies if they can, that basically go into receivership and get, market share for pennies on the dollar. And given their cash position, they can do that. They can also make investments in the United States where applicable, but, if Cronos can outlast everybody in Canada, and they can right now because they've got more cash than, if you took the next 3 companies that had over 6 months of cash, so it would be Canopy, Tilray, Afria, that have over 6 months of cash left, you could triple what they've got in cash, and you still wouldn't have the amount of cash that Cronos has. think Kronos has 100 and it's either 117 or 118 months worth of cash. So they could basically sit on their hands and just, it's like over $1 billion in cash that they have access to. You bought Kron today, 480. Yeah, look, it was a really good, a good buy. I think it went down to 465 or 66. How bullish am I on Afria overall? I like Afria. I got burned on Afria 2 years ago. I made some of it back, but it really just kind of stuck in my head because I knew when there was a short report like 2 years ago about some of the stuff that Afria was doing, and I was aware of it beforehand, and I was just like, oh, this thing's just moving, and I was just trading it, and I took a lot bigger size than I normally take, and then when that short report came out, I got, I think I lost like 84 grand. Well, I'm positive it was 84 grand on that trade. I made some of it back, but still took a loss. You tend to remember things like that. So it's hard for me to get back into a company where I've been burned. Obviously, Broken Coast is, their bread and butter. But, I also think that they're very good at accounting, right? Short real estate, does that also mean short IIPR? I like IIPR. I'm in IIPR long term. IIPR and PW and a bunch of different REITs. Not all REITs are going to be shorts. Yes, they are going to move together to an extent, but some REITs are going to fail. Like the ones that are really positioned in commercial real estate in city centers versus, REITs that are positioned in like, suburbs and other rural areas. I think those will be the winners versus the ones that are just kind of over leveraged in commercial real estate in like city centers. Because, as we're seeing, a lot of people are going to be able to work from home. A lot of companies are going to want to downgrade, their footprint as far as office space. And that's the risk, as well as people having to sell real estate to raise capital for themselves. Power REIT up 12% today. Yeah, it was a good day. So it's a good question. Does Kron value go up or down, though, on spending that cash? It does, if you look at it like that. But if, let's say, they're buying an asset that's cheap, that they can manage, and that will actually make them money, then the money is well spent. Think of that as like good dilution versus bad dilution. Bad dilution is raising money because you need money to pay for previous dilution. Good dilution is, when you are, acquiring an asset that will, make you money, right? And that's what Aurora always said that it was doing. It was like, oh, this is good. Cam Batley would say, this is good dilution, bad dilution, good dilution, bad dilution. When they took over MedRelief and when they took over Canamed, that was really bad dilution, and they tried to dress it up as good dilution. What do I think of Boeing? I'm long Boeing. I think that I think it probably will go lower. I don't know how much, if much at all, but it just, there's nothing really good happening in airlines. And if everybody's just kind of dialing back their spend, Boeing put out numbers yesterday for airplane sales, and they were like orders. They were so bad. like numbers that have never been so bad. Yeah, but MedRelief might be a good product, but Aurora paid $1.2 billion for MedRelief. You got shaken out of your cron calls today. It happens. On those cron calls, we were looking for. That's why we looked at it on a 3-week time horizon, right? So it's okay. You wouldn't be the first person. I got shaken out of calls that ended up going 300% from where I sold them. So trust me, I was not in a good mood this morning, like a very bad mood, like verge of tears mood. I was pissed. You picked up cron calls May 29th. You got 5s? Oh, you bastard. Bastard. In hindsight, I should have just bought them, but I was still like a little fucked up from just making such a big mistake on my airline calls that I had. Like I'm in a real weird spot because I still have calls, but at the same time, I want the airlines to dip again. Like I bought American Airlines $9 puts today, and I sold them. Thank God. And I was like, oh, okay, I made some of the money back, but I made really good trades today. I bought Apple 305 calls, sold them too early. All scalps. And yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. That's why like having your, you have to have your head like really on straight and be able to like walk away from trades and making mistakes. So a trader psychology course in TTG, I might have to reread it tonight. Oof, what are my predictions for SPX? It looks like it wants to go to 2,900, honestly. The way the SPY is just trading right now. But, the SPY on Thursdays, whenever we get jobs numbers or unemployment numbers, has always pumped. I can't remember. Can you guys tell me the last time we closed down on the SPY on a Thursday since this whole coronavirus happened? It always pumps. The only thing that's really going to shake the market is if Trump does something stupid, like really start going after China. Like that would just be the absolute worst thing for him to do right now. The SPY could. Is it possible that the SPY could enter a downtrend? The Fed not going to let that happen. Honestly, this is my honest thought, and I don't mind being wrong, but this is how I've felt since February. The money that they're injecting into the market right now, and even the money that they were injecting on the SPY while it was at all-time highs, like all the repos and everything. When the coronavirus first, became a thing, I even put this in a tweet, like they're basically pumping money into the market so that the money can get out, and then that way the money can buy the dip later, which they did in full force. And then you had all this intervention from the Fed that coincided with it, pushed it all the way back up. Does anybody really think that the SPY should be in the 280s right now with unemployment the way it is? Unemployment right now is worse than 2008. It's nuts. And the things that the Fed is doing right now is going to have like an impact, in the next couple of years. They're basically printing bonds like it's going out of style. They're doing all these bond sales. And, at some point, people that are, and most foreigners are the ones that are buying our debt. So China, Japan, other developing countries, why, we're devaluing our currency, I think. Yeah, we should be able to short this for years, but right now, it's really tough to short, with the Fed just pumping tons and tons of money into the markets. I mean, look, if you take anything from the stream, like we get an 11 a.m. pump, we get a 2 p.m. pump, and we get a 3:45 pump, like clockwork. Like clockwork. Look at a chart. Look at the SPY today. I'll look at it right now. I'll tell you exactly if that happened. 11 p.m. pump. All right, from 280 to almost 282. 2 p.m. pump from 281.50 to 282.50. $2 pump. And then the last 15 minutes, 283 to 285, and it's still pumping. How do you short that? Like one of the things I always jump on the mic and say, okay, guys, be careful. If you're in puts, they're going to start pumping. Here comes the 11 p.m. pump. It used to be they would pump at 1 p.m. And then we would get some pump into close 3:45. Like I could do a stream, and tell you the exact times that they were going to pump. It was like in March, they were pumping at 3 o'clock, 3:20, and 3:45, like clockwork. And crazy pumps. If you look, 10% of the volume in the month of April that was on the SPY came in the last 10 minutes. So 10% of the daily volume came in the last 10 minutes. That's insane. That's the algorithms just going nuts. Well, Chris, we are working on that for the cannabis chat. Oh, I guess I should have added this. So tomorrow is Truliev's share unlock. Okay. Now, you guys know how I feel about the unlock, but have no fear. Tomorrow, I don't think that any of that stock that's supposed to unlock tomorrow will be free trading. I think it'll take, by Monday or Tuesday to really see it. So we'll see. And, also be cautious if everybody's like, oh, because I know I'm going to get trolled on it tomorrow. And remind me if you see me getting trolled on it tomorrow that I said this here. They're like, oh, Trulieve is up, so much for the share unlock. Well, this unlock didn't worry me. It is going to be a good barometer for what happens in July when quadruple what is coming out tomorrow comes out July 25th. Do you play the pumps? Yeah, I'll play the pumps. I mean, I made my money by trading pumps. The trick is you get in, get out. You don't stay in it long enough to get the rug pulled from you. You like shorting the SPY by longing VXX? Yeah. Arnold loves the pumps. Yeah, I mean, TVIX. Today is like scalper's paradise, right? Because you could be short in the morning and then long by noon, and then just watch everything run like crazy. I'm pissed because I didn't get to take advantage of it as much as I wanted to, and I was like just really gun shy over doing stuff like that. What is your DRV target to get out? look, DRV is one that I'm going to actively manage. But I look at it as a 3 to 6 month trade for me. Of course, there's going to be extenuating circumstances on that. What will change my thoughts on DRV, such as, what they do with forbearance on mortgages, and then just the speed at which everybody starts going back to work, and how bad small businesses get crushed in the aftermath. Because look, unfortunately, the really sad part is a lot of people are going to lose their homes over this. A lot of people that were just over leveraged, like pretty much everybody on Airbnb that has like 10 mortgages is completely screwed. So yeah, I'm going to let that develop, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to like hold and pray. Like today I took some off and today I added some. I added back. So when I added at 28, in order for me to lose money on that 28 that I bought, it would be pretty hard because, I have to think like my cost basis is still $20. Well, the cost basis on those shares, if I have to go back and look at like the profit and then everything, it's really, closer to $18.50 because I got a $2 difference on that reload, So I'm going to stay really active in it. I'm going to adjust my stop losses. So I made my stop loss 27 on it. I'll adjust that accordingly. But yeah, because I don't want to give back some of that profit. But I also know that if SPY rips, another 2 days, DRV will probably go below $24. That's why you make it, you take it, you hold a core and you trade a core. And that's what everybody needs to do. Do you think the economy will be hit harder if cases go back up after opening compared to? Yeah, of course. I think if we get a really bad second wave of this and, that fear is back, yeah, we're going to, the Fed isn't going to be able to just keep injecting money into this. There's going to be a lot of things that just will have like a really negative impact on the long-term health of not just the economy, but also the stock market. I mean, we're not far off of all-time highs on anything, right? So, but at the same time, like, we're trading at like December levels or November levels. I mean, was the economy better in November than now? I mean, the PE, we're trading at like a 21 PE for the SPY. We were trading at a 17 PE back then. Earnings are going to be bad till like 2022. Airlines earnings are just going to be shit. The way that you play the earnings is, will they be solvent till the time that people feel comfortable to fly, and that's like the real big question. And that's why, airlines are, as much as I know that a lot of these airlines are going to be around, some of them will fail and then some will get, packaged together. But it's really just, it's a huge question mark, right? So I think you trade them and you accumulate free shares. The one that I think is probably the best trade is probably American Airlines, because it's the most liquid. But it's also the one that is probably has the most risk. What's your target on those Cron 550 calls? Where do you think Cron is heading before end of the month? I think it could tap. I think we could see 540. I think we could see 540 by next week. If we get 2 green days in a row on the SPY, then those calls are going to pay 100%. You know, and with those cron calls, that's why I wanted to be in those $5. Chris Crawford, yeah, Wing is at an all-time high. You know, Wing was 119 when I was looking to short it at like 128, 129, and I just couldn't do it because the chart was just unbelievable. From $45, Wing stock. What garbage. All right, what's your average position size on options trade that's below $2, if you don't mind me sharing? Depends, Speedy. It depends on if it's my first trade or if I've got insurance on that trade. So usually when I do my first options trade, I'll take a position of like, between 25 and 30 options, try and make a percentage, and then, get some profit on that, and then wait for a pullback, and then I'll reload heavier. And then try and rinse and repeat. And then every time I make money, and then if it dips back, because I swing the option, then I scale into bigger and bigger positions, which is sometimes great. Other times, like, it could end up fucking you, which it ended up fucking me on Southwest Airlines, like big time. JD, thank you. But I'm married. I just don't wear a wedding ring. If the second wave comes, do you think we are retesting the lows? No, I don't think we're going to retest the lows. I say like 250, 260 on the SPY, because there will be some interventions. Honestly, I'm hoping that we get it under control. As much as I'd love to trade the SPY again from like 250, 260, I know that if I'm trading the SPY 250, 260, it probably means that like another 100,000 people died. And, I'd rather those 100,000 people be alive, because it, very well could be somebody that I know that dies. I'd rather have them alive than make the money. There are better ways to make money. Now I'll open a fucking lemonade stand. Yeah, I think everybody, the Musk, this was a situation where people that chart and everything really got screwed by the intervention of the Fed. Once the Fed bought 2.3 trillion worth of junk bonds, that completely changed the landscape of everything. Basically gave every company like, a mulligan on bad debt that they've acquired over the years. Yeah, Speedy, I'm glad that you traded that too, on paper. Yeah, those love calls, guys, you have no idea how much they hurt. They hurt so bad. I don't even want to talk about them, but that's part of it, right? It's not fucking rainbows and unicorns all the time when you're trading. The truth is, I really got greedy on them. I made some money early, and then I thought that was a recipe for doing it again. And then I took bigger size, I took bigger risk, and and then when you take bigger risk and take bigger size and get caught in a headline, it's really, you're on a hamster wheel, and I just couldn't get off my hamster wheel. And then when I made moves, the worst part about the love thing that bothers me is I took a real heavy risk yesterday, and if I had just held through with my plan, which was to make it till Friday, I would have been fine. Okay, but instead I panicked because I was just like I can't incur any more losses, and then Yeah, like, you know, I was fucking dying today. Like, I was like pissed off. I like, and I'm usually like pretty even about losing money, but it pissed me off that I, you know, took that I basically sold near the bottoms and then watched everything that I was holding just fucking rip. You know, and rip to where it would have been really profitable and it would have made up for my bad trades. So, you know, that one, it just really hurt to watch. And then, you know, when I bought $23 love calls today that expire tomorrow, you know, I just watched them go 300% and I made 100% on them. And, you know, that's when you know it's a bad day, when you make 100% on a trade and you're like distraught over it. So love is in my head. Yeah, like love really fucked me up this last week. And it's because like, I don't usually, you know, so you have to have rules when you're trading. And I broke all of my rules on this trade. You know, how much I hold overnight. When I'm buying, you know, options, like with, you know, with the expiration date, broke that rule. And then I panicked, and it, you know, it fucked me up, because then all of a sudden I was gun shy about making trades that I knew were good trades. But what really fucked me up with this whole love thing was on Tuesday, I tried buying puts on US Steel at 750, missed my bid, and big size. I tried buying puts on Aurora, big size, $7 puts, missed my bid. Twilio, missed my bid. Apple, missed my bid. If I had gotten filled on my Aurora call, it would have made up for all of my love losses. Just that one. Apple, same thing. Twilio, not as much, but still really good. US Steel, not as much, because you can't trade like crazy size in there. You usually don't buy weeklies after Tuesday. So after Wednesday, I don't buy weeklies. So after Wednesday by noon, I'm usually buying the next one, unless it's something that I'm scalping. And if I'm buying weeklies, I'm out same day. So yeah. But anyway, guys, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Like this. I'm gonna go and play with my kids. They think I'm a great trader. So share this, like it, be my friend. I'm going to start doing these a lot more regularly. And if you've got questions, put it in the comments and give me ideas on what you want my next stream to be, if it's a certain pot stock or whatever. Did we call Aurora and TTG? No, we were looking at it. We didn't get in. I didn't get into anything. I didn't get into Aurora today. No, look, Aurora. Apparently, look, Aurora's earnings, I guess, were good. It's up. It's up $1. But you know, you're still below where they reverse split. You're still below the reverse split price. So, you know, what can you do? All right, guys. Do I play stocks during the day? Of course I do. I'm just going through the last of these questions. All right, guys. Thanks for liking this. I'll see you guys later. All right.